Well, I appreciate Alan going through the room and making sure that everybody's welcome and ready to go. Today we will dive into the 5 habits for 2026 as it relates to sales strategy. But we also have again a special friend of mine, entrepreneur in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Lower Mainland, Cory Brewer has a long history of entrepreneurship, very successful through many ventures, primarily through the landscape company Beyond Landscaping and various others, and some real history in his family from an entrepreneurship standpoint. So we will introduce Cory here shortly and let him speak about his experience as a business owner, entrepreneur, and leader. And then we'll have some Q&A section with him as well. But today we'll start off as we usually do with the 5 buyer behaviors and get it right into our session for today, right? So if you're a founder, operator, or business owner, or selling and you're feeling like this is definitely harder now than it's been before, I want to assure you that you're not broken, that your offer isn't broken, and that your team isn't suddenly bad at sales. What has changed is buyer behavior, and we have started to see this shift a few years ago. As the economic challenges hit us, we started to see this shift. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses are still operating as if it was 2021 and through that COVID period where, like, man, it was just money being printed because there was a lot of drive, right? There was a lot of industries that did quite well. But back then, capital was still cheap. The optimism was high in the economy because there was a lot of money being put in and pumped into economies. And so mistakes that were being made, well, they were felt like they were reversible. They weren't the now, we could fix those later. And speed felt rewarded. In that environment, buyers chased the upside. They were looking for that upside. But today, buyers are doing something very different. They're not asking, can this help me grow faster? In fact, they're asking, can this protect me from making a mistake? Because the shift has gone to defense mode. And so, as we talk about this, we want to really single out the shift that is happening, explains longer sales cycles, more hesitation, more price sensitivity, and more internal approvals that take longer to really make that pipeline make it a go. So today, we will talk about understanding the psychology and selling for it, not against it, because 2026 is going to be one of those tough years. It's going to be economically challenging in our marketplaces. Canada, US, North America is facing some economical challenges. And so let's get into those shifting behaviors. And the first one is that buyers are buying risk reduction, not hope. Okay, let's start with this because this is the biggest shift. Buyers are no longer buying hope. They're not buying on that upside. They're buying risk reduction. And this is subtle but massive because most sales messaging is still upside driven. They're talking about growth, they're talking about scaling faster, unlocking potential, or increased profitability for that end user. But buyers today are quietly thinking, how does this reduce chaos for my organization? How will this stabilize maybe potentially cash flow? How will this remove stress internally? And this is like a major one. Stress and pain points is becoming a clear number one selling point during this shift. And will this lower the chance that I regret the decision? Meaning, like, will my head be on a chopping block because of this decision that I'm about to make here? If I assign a contract with this provider, is it going to bite me in the butt later on? So this is not pessimism. This is self-preservation. And so decision makers are being very careful now when they're doing this. So like we look at examples through some of these lenses, and Warren Buffett stands out for me as I was doing some research because he's famous for not losing money. If there is a billionaire out there who has made money through playing defense, is Warren Buffett. In uncertain markets, he is legendary. He's the smartest player in the room because he often asks, he shifts from how can I win, how much can I win, to how much can I protect. And your buyers today are doing the same thing. So as operators and business owners, we make a mistake and we think that, we're having to pitch businesses on that saleability or that scalability, but instead we should be looking at how do we not lose deals and we keep them growing while seeking that safety or pointing out the safety strategy. Because pressure makes this worse and urgency feels reckless. So this is why we at the OBS framework, we talk about if you can clearly articulate what mistakes you will prevent, what risks you remove, and what volatility you smooth out, you instantly become the safer option and the better option than your competitors. Because in tight markets today, safety or safe will be the winner. Shift number 2 is, well, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks. Is buyers don't trust confidence. They trust defensibility. Okay. This is a shift. And again, it's misunderstood constantly because buyers, they aren't asking, do I believe in this company? They're asking, can I defend the decision if it doesn't go perfectly? That's a very different standard. The internal buyer conversation inside that buyer's head is saying, what will my partner say, my business partners? What will my team think if this goes sideways? What if the result takes longer than I expected as I pitch this to my team? How do I explain this decision if it doesn't work out to stakeholders? This is why testimonials alone don't close deals anymore, right? It's about how can you make sure that you have that protection in mind. And Elon Musk has an example through this through his SpaceX company because he didn't build trust by hiding failure. They built trust by documenting it. They were consistently launching new data. They were doing failure analysis. They were looking at different visible learning opportunities, and transparency at SpaceX made decisions defensible, right? We've all learned about the key learnings that SpaceX has done. And why is he doing that? It's strategic. It's to let you know that he's going to be transparent and he wants you to know. They want you to see how they operate, how they track performance, and how they handle misses. Because accountability is so critical to some of these decision makers now. And so our OBS, we have a principle, and it's that if it's not documented, it doesn't exist. And so your systems are not operate your systems today, like if you think back, they need to be not just operational tools, but they have to be and used collectively as sales assets. And I'll give you an example, one that was really interesting for me. We had an opportunity to bring in some customers in a best practice that I've seen done is we bring in customers into our live working environment, into our offices, and we tour them through this office and we showcase our tools. We show them how we track activity, what we do when we have, situations where it doesn't go as planned. We talked about our service watch program. We talked about, our dispatch tools. We peel back all the curtains and we talk about that. And the reason why we do this and why I believe it's a best practice is because it showcases your level of detail that you will go to make sure the structure is there. And when that structure is there, it starts to really buy that confidence. And again, it's like that shift number 2. It's that defensibility that person's going to have to make later to why they chose you as their service provider, right? So that's the shift that I wanted to make sure we touched on today. The next shift is our sales call, right? It used to be like confirmation. And so that's where we need to take it as a sales call is a confirmation, not conversion, sorry. And so we need to really make sure that this one breaks traditional sales thinking because in the past, that's the way it was thought. But in 2026, buyers are mostly sold before they talk to you. And you might be thinking like, how is that possible? How are they doing that? Because now sales call, they now only exist to truly confirm alignment, and they validate credibility, and then they reduce that final sort of uncertainty, but they're not meant to convince anymore, because I'll tell you where you're convincing them. A lot of these now are going through what we believe as that buyers are reaching out and viewing your content. And I'm not talking about content online. Don't get me wrong. What they're looking for is like your Google reviews. They want to understand, what do your ex-employees are saying about you? They want to understand what your customer experience has been. Those are the type of contents that they're going to look before they close a deal with you. They want to read your posts because they want to know, are you consistent, right? And they're going to look for depth in your organization. They're going to scan for red flags. So trust in these decisions is so important, right? Gary Vee, and I know I've talked about Gary Vee in the past because he's great at content and he's built a brand through his online presence. But here's the reason why this guy's so successful. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look him up. Gary Vaynerchuk, great entrepreneur. And here's the thing about his messaging. It's been consistent for years. Same thinking, same framework, same messaging, different formats, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or wherever, but the messaging is always the same. So buyers learn to trust him because nothing is felt manufactured. It's all very organic. So it's very important that you start to think about that, because people are going to be looking at your pre-qualification. So as a rule, you should be looking to attract the right buyers, be consistent in your messaging, right? Understand objections early, and reduce sales friction by showing them how you think, showing them what makes you different, right? Your content and the stuff that is out there should show buyers who you are and how you operate. That's very important. The fourth shift is price pressure. This is really important now, of course, because margins become so tight during economic shifts that it is something that a lot of people like automatically go to. Oh, okay, it's tight margins. We should look at discounts. We should look at acting this way. I can tell you that's not the way to do it. It's not the way that customers really are going to gain trust, because uh, I'll show you, like, for me, I like the example of Apple when it comes to pricing. And I've seen many economics up and downs, and Apple has been a consistent true growth over the years. And Apple's not cheap, right? During downtimes, Apple's seen some of the highest growths, but because Apple wins on reliability, they win on an ecosystem, and they win on predictability. That's the key thing for Apple. And so when you start to think about, how do I do this? You need to understand that price resistance usually signals fear of execution. So you haven't outlined how you're going to deliver, doubt inconsistency, maybe founder dependency, and chaos behind the scenes. Those are the reasons why your margins may not be safe. It's not necessarily discount, because discounting doesn't solve it. In fact, when you jump to discounting, I'll tell you, you're actually confirming that you have those gaps in your organization. So an OBS safe margin rules, instead of lowering the price, increase your clarity, increase your structure, communication, predictability, and transparency. Because when buyers believe in you that it will work out, then they will be completely in tune, and then negotiation concepts drop. Okay. The fifth and last one is that buyers are testing if you are founder dependent. This is a quiet shift, but it is lethal. Okay. Buyers are asking themselves, what happens if that founder burns out? What happens if they're no longer around? Does this business rely on one individual? Or is this like a system? Or is it tied to a personality and one person only? Jeff Bezos is clear for knowing this because he scaled Amazon built on systems, process, execution, and rhythm. All of these are trust factors that buyers understand and that they know that if there's an ecosystem and there's processes, it's not built on one person, right? It's the complete structure style. And one OBS truth here is that consistency is the new charisma. Scorecards, rhythms, accountability, and documentation will outshine, a great smiley individual. Sure, the charisma opens doors, but the ability to be consistent and highlight your wins is going to create that trust signal that organizations are looking for today. So, as we bring this all together, we want to say that selling is harder only if you rely on personality, on timing pressure, persuasions, and discounts. Selling does get easier if your systems are visible, if your thinking is documented, your standards are consistent, and your delivery is predictable. The truth about our systems at OBS and our operational excellence is that that is the highest converting sales strategy in tight markets. Make operational excellence your key strategic point. Not louder marketing, not better scripts, not urgency tactics, but clarity, consistency, and proof. So if you're ready to scale the right way through 2026, we want you to take note on these takeaways and these key deliverables for 2026. And we're going to shift gears now and go to our special guest. So we thank you everybody for joining us today, but we'll go straight to Cory. Let me introduce Cory Brewer to the group. Cory, as I said, is an entrepreneur coming from a long line of entrepreneur family members in his community from North Vancouver, British Columbia. Cory Brewer is the founder of Beyond Landscape organization doing over $5 million a year and looking to scale in 2026. So, Cory, welcome to the Inner Circle community.
Thanks, Hector. Happy to finally be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Cory. We thought we'd start off with giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your entrepreneur experience.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. My entrepreneur experience started about 9 years ago. I had recently been a university graduate for Bachelor of Business Administration, and I had two sales jobs lined up. And I went to my uncle for some advice and asked him which job I should take. And he came back with some advice that I was pretty upset with at the time, which was that I should turn both jobs down, which I was really looking forward to like get out of being broke university student and make some real money at my first adult job. And he said you got to turn both jobs down and start your own company.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was obviously a pretty emotional decision, and I was actually on a roof in the rain, clearing out gutters, and miserable doing labor like I had been for the last 10 years. So I uh, I just made a commitment to myself that if I was going to do this, I was going to get out of the field as quickly as possible and grow the business so that I didn't have to do that anymore. And then along the way, I decided let's get out of the office and the day to day as quickly as possible. So that's been our goal from day one, is to grow the company, but do it in a way that it's not all on my back, which
Mm,
often is in the first 5 to 6 years of any business.
absolutely. Those are some like pain point years, right? So if we look back at your first early days at Beyond Landscaping, what was the moment that you realized that selling better was going to be critical for your growth?
I learned that much too late. I was always a horrible salesperson, as I like to say. I was great at building relationships, and I could get that trust with customers, and I was quite honest with them. And we did what we said we'd do. We'd show up when I said we'd be there, and we were consistent and we communicated well. So I got a lot of trust, and I was able to sell decently well for that. But I would never consider myself a salesperson. I really realized that about 5 or 6 years in. We did sales training. It was based off the Sandler sales model and the old Sandler sales submarine, and
Yeah.
learned a lot about all the different things that we weren't doing, like really identifying the customer's pain points up front, up first, and then really speaking to those and building the relationship that way. And it was about that time, about 5 or 6 years in, that we really realized how important sales is to the organization, and more importantly, how much money we were leaving on the table over the years in terms of our pricing strategies.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's cool. Like, going through those 5 years of learning, I'm sure that, there was some challenges in buying in from your team, on the deliverables there, right? And like how did they accept it? Like how did they accept your challenge when you came to them and say, like, we have to deliver on these so that we build trust?
Yeah, I mean, that took even a couple years after that until we really started implementing EOS, and obviously with your help a lot is getting those KPIs and metrics, and every single person having a clear accountabilities, KPIs, and a clear job description, and more importantly, performance bonuses. When we started tying all those into each roles, especially the sales, is when we really started getting traction and growing our sales department. And we're just getting started really now. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah. What would you tell like that early entrepreneur, if you could go back and save them or give them some cheat codes, some learning tools from, starting up, like from a growth perspective, what would be some of those things that you would tell them to watch out for?
I mean, if I were to go back in time and tell myself some advice, the first thing I would have said would be get sales training right away. Really understand how to sell and how to price accordingly. That was another thing that we really
Oh yeah.
failed at in the first 5 years, is undercharging ourselves and not understanding our value. And then always wondering why at the end of the year we weren't making the money we expected. We were always doubling our revenue in growth. We were growing bigger and bigger and bigger, but we were taking home less money at the end of the year. And a lot of that stemmed from not charging enough, not really taking the sales part of the organization and the profit side serious enough. So getting sales training would be one of the first things that I would always recommend anyone to do. And I found you want me to focus on sales, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to hear on the sales piece, but any sort of advice that you could share, like, our room here is filled with many entrepreneurs with different strengths or weaknesses. So whatever, gaps that you could close for them would be great.
Sure. There's two more other things. I got really lucky. I joined a business group called Breakthrough Academy, and I got surrounded by really smart entrepreneurs where I met Jason and Brandon and everybody else. And one of my mentors that's pretty heavily involved in Jim's mowing, a competitor of ours, looked at our pricing and how much we were charging over some conversations. And he's like, if you don't raise your prices by like 20%, you're going to go to business. And
Mhm.
thankfully, finding really good mentors and like friends in the industry and discussing strategies and tips and tricks and pricing has been really valuable to me. And I always listen to people that are a little bit ahead in their entrepreneur journey. And we did raise our rates, and we still, at the end of the year, didn't make the profit we should have. And thankfully, if we didn't have that conversation, we would have been in a world of pain back then.
Yeah.
So like pricing accordingly is just so important. Knowing what your competitors are charging, knowing what the industry rates are, and then really making sure you don't have to be exactly at the highest benchmark, but you have to be in line at least. Because I think back to jobs we lost and we were the cheapest quote, and we lose that trust with our customers if we're the cheapest quote. They're probably going to pick the middle, the highest one more often than not. And I think we would have done so much better. We would have made more money. We would have been able to pay our staff more, and we would have been way more profitable if we had done that.
Absolutely. And you hit on a couple really cool points there, Corey. The experience that you gain as being part of a community and networking within your peers, I think is key to point out. As we're building out a community here at the Inner Circle, what can you share about your experience, in the one that you were in, and what would you say were some pros, cons about being part of a business community like this?
It has been life-changing, really. When I first joined that business group, I was like a selfish me mindset about I'm not going to share my tips or strategies or anything. It's me against all my competitors. And then through that, with there's so many people, especially Jason, like
Mhm.
he'd open his entire books to you. He'd show you his operation. He'd spend so much time going over anything that you ever wanted to learn. And there's countless peoples in that organization that would do the same thing. And it made me a lot more open to collaboration with competitors. One of my closest friends is also one of my biggest competitors. He's 10 minutes away, runs the almost identical organization to me, and we'll share everything, could be pricing, could be strategy, software. I've helped him get into snow removal and gardening, and he's helped me get into construction. I've gotten him into EOS and other aspects as well. And if we all work together, we just all make more money and we raise the industry standards so that we can all charge more. And I think that's so important is the higher the level all your competitors are, you're going to get less people undercutting you and doing crappy work.
That's amazing. That's such a good point. To hear of the fact that collectively you're raising the bar in your industry, who wins is the end user because they're gonna get better output, better consistent, product delivery and service. Of course, the rate is going to be maybe a little higher, but that's okay because that's the standard, right? You don't get somebody coming in and dropping rates and getting bad work out there, right? And so I think that's a healthy positioning, not only economically for your business, but for the community.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a game changer for us. And that organization in particular, I had great coaching throughout it, great learnings, a kind of a company path that you can follow about all the things you need to implement. And while those were all valuable, I've always said from day one, the most valuable thing from joining any organization is the people and the connections you make. The lifelong friendships, but also just those nights where you're having a couple cocktails and going deep on like a certain aspect of your business. Those conversations have been the most valuable to me by far. It's just the relationships I've built in that community. A perfect example was like 3 years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, ChatGPT was just coming out, and I was sitting in Cancun at one of the conventions, and we're talking about virtual assistants and AI long before anyone else in our industry or most other industries were talking about it. And that one conversation just at one convention not only transformed my business, but it also spurred to another company I started as well, and kind of really made a massive impact on everyone that was sitting there, like really went far.
Now that's a cool segue into your other businesses and what you do as well because outside of being an owner and operator of your landscape business, you're also visionary and you were able to see an opportunity for leveraging a marketplace in the other part of the world and bringing them to do jobs that typically in North America we would not think that that's doable. So maybe let's talk about that VA, entrepreneurship experience and what you've done, how you've made it work.
Yeah, I mean, I got fed up at some point with a bunch of local staff in a row. We're hiring some office assistants, and I got pretty tired of the quality of the local candidates. So I said, let's try this virtual assistant thing. And the first girl that we hired was great, showed up every day, did what was expected of her, and that was just so refreshing from what I'd been dealing with in person that I immediately started hiring a couple more. And then it wasn't until that conversation in Cancun where we just started deep diving on what other people were doing. And I realized that there's so much more opportunity than just basic customer service, that a lot of the roles and tasks that any North American company does can be done remotely. If it can be done behind a computer screen, our motto is that it should be done remotely and not with an in-person staff member. So after
Yeah.
that conversation, Grace was actually, I think, one of my next hires. Had taken over operations of the gardening department again, and after a couple bad managers in a row, and I was using her as a just a helper for me. And my intention had been to do that position for a year or two with help, and then work on hiring an in-person manager. But Grace picked it up so quickly that I realized that she could do this job, and ended up putting her in charge of it almost after 3 months. And that was really the light bulb in my mind that remote staff from other countries can do so much more than basic customer service, which is what typically most people in the industry or anyone that I've ever talked to uses remote staff is pretty entry level positions. So that really changed the course of our business, and we ended up having a remote team of about 6 people that completely run the back end of our company and operations. And I know in the next couple of years we're going to have 2 to 3 more as well.
Yeah. And that's such an amazing, success story because you're right. Like whenever I've talked to entrepreneurs about, the outside sourcing jobs, oh yeah, it's around customer service, right? CSRs. It's around like outbound sales calls or inbound sales calls, but it's never an operations manager. It's never, a leader, a frontline leader, a second line leader virtually. Like that's game changing because, it not only does it give you flexibility from like challenges in the local market, but there are some wins from the financial perspective and like the overall profitability of the business, allowing you potentially to scale because your overhead doesn't need to be as heavy, right? So, what were some of the things that you talked about landing some really good people, and that was critical to that. But did you have hesitation? Like, what were some of the scary times when you were making that dive? Because it had to be scary.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was the scariest, not knowing how to hire somebody remote, not knowing how to pay them. You have to learn so much about completely transitioning your company to something online. We didn't even have a VoIP service when we started and hired our first virtual staff. So we had to onboard all of that and completely change the way we do business to move everything from in person to remote. But I think that just made us like a more future forward and future focused company.
Yeah. And so you have your other business. What is that other business that you do for the people in the room so that they know about that as well?
Yeah, so through that business group, we had a couple speakers, Mike Bachowitz from Profit First, John Warlow from Built to Sell, both amazing books that I highly recommend any entrepreneur read. And both of those speakers talked about how important executive assistants were. So after reading Buy Back Your Time, and I knew I had a 6 week, my first 6 week vacation when since I started my business, I realized I needed an executive assistant. So having all the experience with having virtual staff, I decided, well, I'm going to hire a virtual one. And I went away for 6 weeks. It was very successful. I didn't have to worry about my inbox, travel research. It helped out a lot. But when I went back, I kind of was reflecting on what that EA was doing and realized there was quite a mismatch between my expectations and what I was getting. So I went to my cousin for some advice, who was an EA for several C-suite executives and also YPO members, just really high-level entrepreneurs. And she basically told me that I just had another virtual assistant or an employee and wasn't really using an EA right. So I kind of realized that there's a huge education problem with a lot of entrepreneurs about what a real EA does, how to manage them, how to hire them, and also like just really the power of them. And so we ended up partnering on a company that hires and places remote executive assistants for entrepreneurs of any size. And that's been really challenging, but also really rewarding, an awesome industry to get into.
That's amazing. Great, great sort of path into like a networking event gives you an idea. That idea then, booms in your business, which then becomes another string of earning through establishing another business. So that's quite the journey. And what we normally do at the Inner Circle is we open it up for Q&A for the group. But before we do that, like I know you're also now venturing into coaching and into your own podcast as well. So where could our audience here find you? Like what would be sort of your socials and that so that they can have an opportunity to follow you and maybe learn from what you're doing out there as well.
Thank you, Hector. Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. Cory Brewer, obviously, is my full name, or Cory Brew on Instagram. I do post at least weekly content as well, like business advice, the failures I've gone through, a lot of the lessons I've learned over the years, because I've certainly made every mistake under the sun and continue to fall flat on my face week after week. So I like to share as much of those as I can.
That's amazing. It wouldn't be an entrepreneur experience if you didn't have some downfalls, right? Like it's that's part of the game. It's part of the journey. It's all about not just, falling down and staying there. It's like how many punches can you take and can you get up,
Yeah, like
right?
Rocky.
Like Rocky, that's it. That's exactly it. All right, Cory. Well, I appreciate it again. Now, what we normally do is, again, we open it up to the room, but I'll go first to Willie. Willie is, our co-founder here at OBS and Inner Circle co-host, and so we'll go to Willie first for any questions, feedback, and yeah, and we'll pass it on to you, Willie.
Just no basketball questions, please.
There we go. Well, welcome to the group here, Corey, or welcome to our call, and appreciate taking the time for this.
Anytime. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so I started a business in 2007, and I can definitely share some feelings what the ride is like. So it's and one thing that you touched on, the mentorship, that's probably my biggest piece for me that changed and helped me get through all the downfalls that I had in my business for sure. Yeah. And yeah, what questions I like on sales training, what would you say, what are the platforms to go for sales training now? Or do you use currently a system in your businesses?
We haven't for a couple of years. It's definitely something on our mind. Our priority in the last year or two has been more on making sure we have really correct data in terms of their success ratio and their targets. And then now we're going to be really pushing more sales training. I know Sandler's is pretty famous and pretty common. We had a lot of success with that. But
Yeah.
there's a million sales trainers and free content out there that people can learn how to sell without taking any courses. A lot of Instagram channels, a lot of YouTube videos. There's hundreds of books on it. I think there's so much resources out there that you don't need to spend a couple grand on sales training if you don't want to.
Mm. And the second question I have, what are kind of the top two or three people that you're looking up to as mentors currently?
I'll have to start with Hector. I've learned a lot from him in the last couple of years. He's
Thanks,
really helped
Cory.
our organization. I really love Dan Martell's content. His
Mm.
book was fantastic, and that really is what changed our business a lot in my life. Like really buying back my own time as an entrepreneur, hiring an
Yeah.
EA, an errand runner, a meal prep, a cleaner, and just really getting out of the grind of just killing myself with just taking on more and more tasks and like really learning to delegate to staff underneath me. Definitely a mentor of mine, although I haven't met him in person yet.
Mm.
But I seek mentors out in everyone. It could be any other business. As an example, like I coach entrepreneurs once a month that are under $1 million a year in sales, and we meet up at my house and have a lunch, and then spend 3 hours talking about their businesses. And I'll learn stuff from them every month.
Mm.
I like to joke I'm a sponge, so whatever conversation I'm in, I'm learning constantly from other people, and I like to think that everybody is a mentor if you'll listen.
Mm.
Great.
Awesome. And yeah, with Dan Martell to meet him in person, I actually went there last summer and did the morning walk with him, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to be looking up to do that.
Yeah, he does that every Thursday morning, I think. And so yeah, anybody can join any Thursday in the morning, I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll let some other people ask some questions.
Yeah, perfect. Why don't we open up the room? We always go to our individual that helps us here coordinate the room, and Alan,
El
we'll go to you first, and then we'll pass it around.
Ellen said he had a fire alarm go off. Are you back?
I just,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, there he is. Everything okay, Alan?
Yeah, nobody's evacuating. The alarms were blaring and the lights were blinking and it was very distracting and it was
Oh
crazy. But
no.
anyway, here we are.
Oh
All
no.
good.
All
Yeah.
right.
But hey, I caught most of that with the alarm blaring in my ear. But anyway, hey, fabulous. So yeah, this is the time where normally we open up the call for anybody that wants to ask some questions. So I know, Albert, you're brand new. We'd love to hear from you. You get to ask any question you like, whether it's on the training content that Hector took us through today. You could ask me if you want to ask Cory a question directly. You're more than welcome to do that. Mary Grace as well. You get to ask some questions. So the room is pretty small today. It's a little bit unusual, unusually small,
It's
but we'd
Christmas
love.
season, right?
Yeah, tis the season, and so we'd love to hear from each of you if you'd like to. Albert, I see you got yourself unmuted. Would you like to ask a question or have a comment, perhaps?
Yeah, I think if I can talk. But anyway, um, yeah, from Hector's presentation there, there was something about the message that we're sharing on a regular basis, and I know it's one thing that I've been kind of tossing for quite some time. You know, if I should start some regular Instagram, or I have a Facebook page with my company on it. I use my personal Facebook page for the company I work for. So I'm kind of a two-time guy. I work till 5 o'clock for Flamin Agricultural and Trailer Sales, and then I run an auction company
Wow,
on my own.
Amazing.
So, but yeah, that thing about getting the message out there and being consistent and creating trust in the before we actually close the deals, that was intriguing to me. Just wondered if there was some encouragement or point of direction that I could get maybe for the types of platforms that I'd be reaching out to people on stuff. Cory mentioned that he was on LinkedIn. I think if you go in depth there, you pay for that one. Is that correct?
Yeah, monthly fee. I think it's like $100 a month if you want to actually reach out to people and add a lot of
Okay.
people to contacts.
Right. Okay. I've been on LinkedIn. I just haven't gone as far as paying for it yet. So
Yeah, I would really pass this one over to Willie, and I'll share the story that Willie did, which was amazing in the transportation space, right? If you can sort of picture back 2018, 2019, Willie's trucking was growing in the communities up north, but heavy pressure from large competitors, right? You had the Manitouans, the large national carriers all up there. But Willie took to Facebook and did what I thought at the time was like weird. I'm like, man, like Willie's gonna go and showcase a trucking company on Facebook. Like, how is that gonna work? Again, I'm not as creative. I'm very much an operational mind. But what I found was so intriguing, and Willie, I'll give you the floor in a second. But what he did is he was able to create trust by highlighting a lot of activity, a lot of activity, a lot of content about Willie's Trucking. And so when we came, me as an operations manager, I would come into contact with people in the communities. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know Willie's Trucking. Yeah, yeah, I've seen you guys. You guys are on my Facebook feed all the time." And so it opened doors for us. It allowed us access to conversations because they already recognized the name versus having us to tell them who we were. And we were the little guy in a big market space. So like that was the experience that we had. And really share like maybe how you came with that idea, what you did, and like how it worked for us.
Yeah, for sure. I basically just winged it, but I knew it was important for us to be on social media, and I think this is sometimes business owners, they look at, oh, my client base isn't really on there, but I would challenge that big time. And not only that, I had a business group or meeting with a company that I'm actually coaching right now, and we had this conversation literally today, like marketing. What should we do in marketing? And and I told them like, if you get your marketing strategy together and social media posting, and you start building that trust out there, not only with clients, but also with people that want to come and work for you. Like they see you out there, and now all of a sudden you have a lineup of employees that actually want to work, top quality employees. And so for me, I always saw that I wanted to attract good employees. So at first I was even just doing it for that, not even thinking of the customer side so much. And but then there was another thing, that a point that we did, like you know, remember, Hector, we had these our own magazine books that we started dropping off
That's
every.
right.
And when you talk about that phone call isn't now trying to convince or close them, it's already like they have gained that trust before that phone call. That's what that magazine book did. And that strategy, I think, worked so well for us, where we would hire just not even like somebody trained in sales to drop this off at businesses all over the place, or we would just have him go around, and he got to like up to 50 businesses in a day, where his mission was just to drop off this magazine book and ask for a contact. And then he would enter that into our CRM, and we would have someone in the office follow up with that contact. And but that magazine book, where what we had in there was our core values, and really tried to communicate who we were as a business. We even displayed our EOS structure that we had implemented in that magazine. We were structured on this framework, and we had our key roles listed in there, who was running the business. And so that's all the pieces that built that trust up before we ever even called them. And
Yeah.
so yeah, social media, and I'm a big believer in in yeah, having some kind of pamphlet, magazine, booklet put together of all that stuff in there to build that trust.
And it's about that content that went into there, right? Because we talked
Yeah,
about the uncertainty and people now having to make decisions and defend their decisions. Well, imagine like having the opportunity to know who the organization is before you even meet the person. You get to talk, you get to learn the structure they operate in, what their core values are, what challenges them, what motivates them, who's running the departments, and what are their goals. All of that structured in that magazine. It's all very, very cool content that help build credibility and help build the brand for trust.
yeah. Yeah, and then the other thing I was talking about in our boardroom today was not just post, run some ads, like push it out to more people. I remember we were spending $5,000 to $8,000 a month on Facebook ads, and we would reach 150,000 people easily per month. And so a lot of people were seeing our content, and yeah, we come up many times in our industry for our Facebook page was at the top. We were number one. And so that really helped as well. And we would post about our core values and what we stand for. So that's all part of building that trust.
Yeah. And you know what it did is like imagine going out to go close a deal, a big contract, but they already know how you operate. You don't have to
Yeah.
sell them on that because you've been putting it out there. The psyche behind social media power is incredible. Like they trust you before they even talk to you. So,
Yeah.
Cory, any thoughts on that in your experience and how you've grown your brand that way as well?
Yeah, I love learning that about Facebook. We personally haven't had much luck on Facebook or Instagram. I always joke that Instagram is more of a dick swinging contest against other landscaping companies versus actual getting customers. I'm a big believer that the most important, well, the first thing you got to know is who your target audience is and where they're going to search for you. As an example, we service primarily residential and strata members. So for residential, it's simple. The like referrals are your number one. If you can really build out a referral program and get passed on, you do good work for a good price, and you show up when you say you are, you're going to get referrals. But really trying to target that in particular. Reviews on Google, in my opinion, is still one of the most important things that most businesses aren't prioritizing. You should have a couple hundred reviews. Every one of your customers should be asked if they want to post on a review. Google local services, in my opinion, is one of the best ROIs that you can spend money on in advertising for residential clients. And then obviously a good website with everything that Willie said, highlighting your core values and your story and the pain points that you really solve for customers. And then it gets down into more paid advertising like SEO. Your website ranking is still very important, but then Google paid ads. We find the best luck, starting it there. We have the best Google profile in our industry, in our city, and we're always the first ranked person on Google. And that's where our customers are searching, and we get a lot of leads from that.
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
absolutely. Good stuff. Well, great question. We still have a few minutes, so Grace and or Peter, who would like to ask away?
Now, I don't believe Peter's with us anymore. He sent me a message. He had to jump off unless I don't see him.
Oh yeah, well he was in Bolivia, he said, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, we appreciate he jumped on. Grace, any questions for the group? Any learnings here that you took away today? Yeah, she's trying to find the
Yeah,
mute. There we go.
sorry. Yeah, so there's one thing that maybe not a question, but there's one thing that you have tackled on earlier that Corey might have touched on as well, is about having like structure uh and consistency. So I really believe that the operations manager position that Corey was able to have like the virtual assistant like me work on. The main thing that really made that work is having the company having the structure on this role.
Hmm.
And so there's a system already that I could follow. And if all company would have that like in place, systemize
Mm.
everything and structure everything, SOPs, all of it would really help, even though your people are working like outside the country or really far, it would work as long as that's in place. So yeah,
Mm.
that's something that I just realized today.
Yeah, it's so critical, the framework, right? A lot of people try to focus as they start out on the revenue. They chase the revenue because, of course, that's what you get into business for. It's revenue. But you forget that if you want to put the roof on top of the house without building the foundation, it's all going to fall down on you. So the structure, the SOPs, the frameworks, so critical. And especially as you're scaling with great ideas like remote workers, it's even more important because if you don't have it to that level, man, you're opening up yourself for some quite of a learning experience if you
Mm.
don't have it done well.
McDonald's, I always use as a great example. They
Yeah.
are the best at putting in people that are probably below average skill level into an amazing system. And, they know the fries go in for 30 seconds. The burger gets three pickles and two things of mustard. They are the most systemized business. And we've always tried to work towards that. We're nowhere near close, but they're such a great model to understand.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It is that because they built and sustained so many efficiency points, right? It's all about the system. So great point and great learning opportunity there, Grace. And it's a challenge then because once you become a leader in those roles, you have to uphold the structure and you have to uphold the bar to delivering under those standards, right? So. That's critical. That's why, in this room, whether you're the entrepreneur or you're the second line leader, you're going to take something away. You're going to learn something here. And so we're excited that we all had an opportunity to join today.